Hey everyone, Johnny here, Don't Speak News. News we're not supposed to speak about. We're going to start this video with a video from Moon Henry on YouTube and on Facebook. And this short clip is called Totally Not a PSYOP. And I shared it on my YouTube channel here this morning. Let's listen to it and comment on it a little bit, shall we?
It was totally not a psyop. Maduro landing for his alleged imprisonment above me. So nobody knew that this was going to happen, right? Especially not the day before they could bet so they could get rich off of the information that nobody knew, right? And there's totally a major battle thrown to overtake and get Maduro, right? And Fox, CNN, Newsmax, etc. There's no way they were all caught using fake old footage, were they?
No, because they would never do that, would they? They do it all the time.
So besides the Peruvian predictions for 2026 they did on New Year where they said that Maduro would be overthrown, there would be no way that someone could just create a poly market account and bet that Maduro would be taken out, a brand new account, a large bet, and win over $400,000, right? Right? No resistance at all in his capture, not even a single bullet.
That's the part that got me thinking the most, was that there was not even a scratch on any U.S. troop, operator, nothing. Not a shot was fired, as from what I can tell, and from the stories I've read. Not even a knife was pulled, as far as I can tell.
And all day, somehow, I've been catching all different news channels, regardless of what side they are, all using really old footage to try to push a narrative, it seems. And now, coincidentally, not related of all times, we have Venezuela possibly, maybe, to be America's 51st state. Also, you remember when this conflict began, I showed you guys just how much oil and lithium and other things Venezuela had? Wow, that was forever ago, wasn't it? To which now the US is in charge of that and is also selling Venezuelan oil to Russia. You know, right before Maduro's capture, there's no way that just hours prior they were meeting with China, were they? Of course, we have a state of emergency in Venezuela. Many people are worrying about food and all these things, so I have people hitting the streets, some for, some against. We had the vice president, which is now the acting president, saying that they're a victim and target, hold on, an attack of this nature, which undoubtedly has a whoa. And of course, the defense minister calling for a liberation-style anti-imperialist war. Remember, there was zero resistance in getting Maduro. Oh, wait a minute, we got a special message from a middle-aged man who believes the box in his living room.
Are you libtardly crying about Venezuela? Do you have no clue what the is going on over there? Do you have no clue what the Trump just did? You got dumb ass. He's doing it for the oil. No, he's not. Venezuela went from a thriving country to a third world
When are y'all gonna understand that the media is lying to you? Fox, Newsmax, CNN, they're all the same thing. There's a little Mockingbird over here, a little bit of operation up there. But if you didn't notice, it goes like this every time. Worried about the island man? Oh, you're a liberal or a Democrat. This is much bigger than a sideways election, and it's much bigger than illicit substances. One by one, all countries fall to the same exact fate. Hence, here's Rothschild congratulating the president on his actions this morning. The 1940s were a very extravagant year for the Rothschild, or should I say Red Shield. You know, the same ones that took the pieces of the Bavarian and put the Scottish right? New World Order started in 1947, 1949.
He's got that right. Definitely got that right. He's got a lot of things right in this particular clip. So, yeah, let's expand on it a little bit, shall we? Nicolas Maduro and his 6 outerwear changes from winterwatch.net. So watch, what is this? This whole thing? A Patagonia commercial? Here we go. It says here on from X, welcome to America. Unfortunately, our Patriot Blue RTX shirt won't be shipping until spring, but they are available for pre-order. Apparently Maduro had an inside track to those particular shirts. It says here, did fashion companies sponsor the arrest? LOL. Maybe. We've seen stranger things here lately, right? Now here he is in a different outfit, this time on the helicopter. Here he was with a different jacket and outfit from this one on the tarmac. And then another one here with a nice sweatshirt on. If you want to appropriate this look, you can. They've actually shown you what he's wearing here down in the article. I'll show you in a minute. Next level marketing. Indeed. Surprised he didn't put some different shoes on, maybe some Nikes, and show those off too. And so here's how you can steal his look, folks. You've got Tech Fleece jogger right here for 120. Here's the hoodie for 140. Then you've got the hearing protection and the laser eyewear as well. Wow. So we're told that a Delta team walked in, faced zero resistance, and somehow pulled off a clean grab, no casualties, even though Maduro was supposedly armed to the teeth and wrapped in layers of protection. No chaos, no last stand. So ask yourself, does that sound like a daring raid or a prearranged handoff? Has the real Maduro been sent out the back door to Brazil? And for those of you who want to criticize me about the Russian weapons not being used, it's not my fault if they don't use them. How is that discrediting me in any way, shape, or form? But you guys love to jump on me for anything you can find that you don't agree with or whatever. It's ridiculous. Just because someone is handed a tool to use doesn't mean they actually know how to use it or that they're going to use it at all. Because, like it says, money changed hands. The very military tasked with protecting Maduro sold him out. It's that simple. The Russians and the Chinese can bring all the weapons in the world and the most advanced weapons available to Venezuela or anywhere else. But if they don't use them, what good are they? Just saying. So the military sold Maduro out. That's why the operators knew exactly where to go, when to go, and what they'd find when they got there. And that's why there were no casualties on the U.S. side. Trump casually says that we're in control of Venezuela. He also talked about how rich Americans, at least the American oil companies, are going to get off all that oil. So if this had been a genuine special operation, we wouldn't be in control of anything. Because as we all know, you don't control a country by kidnapping one man. You control it when the security apparatus is already working for you. The U.S. learned some lessons, hard ones, in their operation in Iraq starting in 2003 because they disbanded the Iraqi military, which in turn left them unemployed with nothing, no money coming in and nothing to do and all that training. And that turned into, armed resistance against the U.S. occupiers. Anyway, so they're not in control of anything. If the Venezuelans now in power decide not to play ball, well, then they'll have to go back in again. And it won't be that easy next time. But I don't think they're going to encounter much more resistance from this point on. Not yet, anyway. So this does not mean that counter-resistance elements don't still exist within Venezuela. I'm sure they do. That's entirely different from a head of state removal operation. And it isn't over until the fat lady sings. Indeed, we'll have to see how this all develops. As always. And now Nick Shirley, popular social media commentator, quickly becomes a false narrative propagandist. It says here you'll be shocked to learn that this Trump regime propagandist is lying about this video, which is from Miami and not Venezuela. All these celebrations that we see going on, most of them are from Miami area, as I'm finding out today. Just waiting for it to populate itself. There it goes. Internet's been very slow today. But that's in Miami, not Venezuela, guys. So we need to be careful on which narrative we're believing here. And like it says, even the fact checkers they finally got it right this time. Or readers did. They added context. This video depicts Venezuelan exiles celebrating the U.S. capture of Maduro in Doral, Miami, Florida, rather than celebrations within Venezuela itself. So there they go with the fake clips of the so-called battle that happened in Venezuela. They're using old footage, and now they're using footage from the United States and saying that it's from Venezuela. Unreal. But we should have expected this. Remember in 2013, when Obama signed the National Defense Authorization Act that year, which they have to do every year, the NDAA. Well, when Obama signed it that year, that got rid of the Smith-Mundt Act. It repealed it. And what the Smith-Mundt Act did was it made it illegal for the United States government to use propaganda against its own citizens. Well, guess what? Ever since he signed that in 2013, we've been psyoped each and every single day. The State Department just loves it because now it's completely legal to lie about everything. They don't even try half truths anymore. They just gaslight us all the time, nonstop. And that's what's wearing people out. It really is, including me. Now I'm going to take you over to Telegram and we're going to look at some more stuff. So let's scroll back up here. As China and their social media is hailing the U.S. Maduro move as a Taiwan template. And this is what I talked about on Telegram earlier. Maybe it was yesterday, in fact. So on Chinese social media, users believe that China should use Trump's methods towards Taiwan. Yep, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? So this is reported by Bloomberg, citing Chinese users. The operation to capture Maduro has generated more than 440 million views on Chinese social media. It goes on to say, since the U.S. doesn't take international law seriously, why should we care? Question mark. I agree. It says, it went on to say, I suggest using the same method to return Taiwan in the future, right, to users of the Chinese social network Weibo. Other users suggest kidnapping Lai Chang-te, the president of Taiwan, as well. Bloomberg cites the opinion of analysts who believe that the operation against Venezuela could push China to more decisive actions. And while they're not mentioning Russia here, I think we should, because the same thing could happen to Zelensky, even though now he's running around talking smack about how Trump should do the same thing to Putin. Well, what's to stop Putin from doing that to you, Mr. Zelensky? Unreal. Maybe catch him mid-snort with a cocaine straw still in his nose. Take pictures of him that way. But it could happen. It says here, privately, I expect Beijing to emphasize to Washington that it expects to be granted the same privileges in terms of exceptions to international law that the U.S. grants itself, believes Ryan Hass, a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution and a former American diplomat. I agree. They're going to want the same immunity from any repercussions as the United States has been. So it says Taiwan, as an independent state separate from the PRC, is recognized by only 12 small countries. The US, Russia, and EU countries do not recognize Taiwan's independence. Isn't that something? Then moving over to a potential new war on Iran. It says here, breaking news in the fog of Maduro's kidnapping, Trump has massively deployed weapons to Europe for a war in Iran. Multiple C-17s, along with KC-135 Stratotankers, have flown over the Atlantic from the United States to various bases in Europe. One interesting detail is that one of the C-17s departed from Fort Campbell, Kentucky, home of the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, or SOAR for short. Night Stalkers is what they're called, which was founded directly after the failed U.S. rescue operation in Iran in 1980, specializing in Delta Force operations and were likely involved in the kidnapping of Venezuelan President Maduro. At least two of the C-17s have landed at Ramstein Air Base in Germany. And Hal Turner had a little more on this. Let's see what he's got here. It says here around half a dozen C-17A Globemasters arrived last night at RAF Fairford in the United Kingdom. Based upon the military units that are involved and the cargo being carried, it seems Iran is in for trouble again. We talked about this here last week, guys. And they're saying that this surge mirrors a similar C-17 movement 6 months prior to the U.S. strike on Iranian nuclear facilities in June of 2025, suggesting potential pre-positioning for special operations amid escalating European or Middle East tensions, though no official purpose has been disclosed. And no, I'm sure they won't, as it didn't do it before, operational security and all of that. But it's an interesting development nonetheless, because this is kind of under the fog of that supposed Nicolas Maduro military intervention, which really, to me, ended up being more of a stage play and maybe even part of a fashion show for outerwear, jackets, and sweatshirts. Just saying. Just weird. And then, going back to Telegram here, we're going to scroll up and talk about Russia again. As the New York Times admits the U.S. is behind the strikes on Russian oil production and the Shadow Fleet ships. The New York Times, in this article, The Separation Inside the Unraveling U.S.-Ukraine Partnership, admits that while the U.S. posed as pursuing peace, the CIA secretly supercharged strikes on Russia itself. Remember, we talked about this last week as well with the Patrick Lancaster article I showed you from Substack, where he said all the so-called peace talks between Putin and Trump are nonsense. It's smokescreens to keep the public calm and at ease and give them false hope. But there's no peace that's going to be achieved until Russia achieves all of their objectives inside of Ukraine. But at the end of the day, they're going to end up taking all of it, like we've talked about before as well. So it says here, as I've been reporting since these attacks began, only the U.S. possesses the ISR and physical capabilities to conduct such attacks, as this campaign has targeted Russian energy production and involved targeting civilian maritime shipping in the Black Sea and beyond. The U.S. is waging this war on Russia no matter how much it tries to appear to be splitting off from Europe or pursuing peace. At any time of its choosing, the U.S. can end the war itself maliciously started, but instead it seeks to have Europe take a larger role in sustaining it while it provokes a similar conflict with China in the Asia-Pacific region. Both conflicts are linked to the continued U.S. pursuit of global primacy. So there you go. And also here in Telegram, I wanted to tell you about anti-government protesters in Iran are now armed with rifles and have begun firing warning shots. And it's getting pretty bad over in Iran right now. And all indications are that the Mossad and the United States CIA are firmly involved and entrenched over there. Even though Iran made some progress in rooting out those cells earlier this year, or I should say last year, it's already 2026. Wow. And we're already on the 4th. It just seemed like the new year just turned. Anyway, Iran's in a lot of trouble, more than they want to admit to. And I think that's why they're going to attack Israel, maybe preemptively and maybe very, very soon, before they can't anymore because everything gets too far out of control in the cities and the rioting really goes nuts. So we'll just have to keep our eyes on it as best as we can, but I have no doubt that the United States CIA and also the Mossad, of course, from Israel, are involved in this. And so, like I said, like Patrick Lancaster said, all of this talk about peace between the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine, and Europe, of course, is nonsense. It's not going to happen. And that will be it for this particular episode. Don't forget, don'tspeaknews.com. It's home base for all that we do. But a lot of stories here that we can't report on anywhere else, including this one about the Bluetooth-enabled microchip, this one about the son of perdition, this one about graphene oxide, and so on. And many, many more here on don'tspeaknews.com. If you'd like to support us, there's a way to do so at the bottom of every article, but you can also click this tab on channel support right here at the top. We are listener supported only, and we do need your support or we won't be here. I want to thank everyone who has participated throughout the year last year and now starting this year in 2026. How long will we be here? Well, it's anybody's guess. But we won't be here long unless you guys help us out when you can, if you feel led to do so. All the links are right here, and we thank you very, very much for that. Rumble, BitChute, Telegram, YouTube, all the places to find us are underneath this tab right here. Here's all the links. Those are the places we're located. And if you want to subscribe or contact me, send me some info, click on this tab here. Don't Speak News at Proton Mail is how you get in touch. Then type in your email here, click on subscribe, and that way you'll be notified every time there's a new posting. And that will be it for now. God bless, take care. Johnny Storm, Don't Speak News.